So last I saw you, I do recall saying something about a timeline. About it, I'm still not right. Something about a timeline. And the reason was just to give an idea of doing something like a journal, but with that timeline to be able to begin the structure of this dialogue that you're going to have with yourself, because that's really what it is. It's the skeletal body of the dialogue that's about to go down. Don't be worried, don't be fearful. It's okay. Because as you do it, you're going to be exercising that self-honesty, authenticity, compassion, and practicing non-judgment with yourself. You don't really have to go at any pace. If you are doing some kind of therapy, then, be active in your therapy. Be active in your, let's say you've been through therapy, and so it isn't about, okay, well, I did therapy, that's it. It's over. I recently heard someone say, I've been on the couch for 12 years now, and how they've had a 12-year journey with different types of therapy and therapy in general. I have gone through online free therapy to paying for amazing doctors. When I had a wonderful insurance package, I really was blessed to experience a bit more, than when you don't have insurance and things like that. Or when you have an insurance package that doesn't include that, or now we're stepping into times where a lot of jobs do. So maybe you've already done therapy, and just to continue being very active in your constant evolution and understanding of yourself, to simply just use it as an excuse to focus on you. Use it as an excuse to, okay, well, sometimes, I know I should do some self-care, self-love. But there's only so many, well, for me, there's only so many times you could get your nails done and things like that. Or for a man, maybe there are less ideas, because then you're like, well, that takes care of maybe spoiling myself or giving myself some kind of attention. But then I also need to comfort my soul, and so just like we could take care of the body with the massages, the lotions, the great things, the enhancements, the whatever, but and for men, take care of the body by going to the gym, doing your massages as well, doing your pedicures, your foot treatments, your whatever, fashion. Some men do a lot of fashion therapy. But then you also, and this isn't, I think we all do a mixed bag, but just giving examples, because I'm, I don't go do my nails, and I don't, that's not part of my self-care and my self-love. So everybody's very different, but I was just trying to give ideas. But then we also have to, take care of the body internally, and so we have to take care of our nutrition, and that's also another way of expressing self-love. How we manage our diet, how we feed our temple, how we feed the machine, how we oil the machine, how we, what we put in there, and why. And then also going deeper into our relationship with that, our relationship with nourishing ourselves on a very not emotional, but very basic physical level. You want to live? Well, how do you physically make sure of that? And then we go deeper, and then we get into the self-care, self-love of the emotional body and of your inner self. That when people sometimes say, well, this person might be very attractive and this person too might be very pleasing to the eyes, but one of them radiates. I apologize. One of them radiates. And that's something where, it's that inner happiness that is everything okay? No, not really. But this person still carries a stillness and an inner. Just, the guy too, did he get the girl? No, but we had a great time. Or, are you single? Yeah, I'm happy. Are you with someone? Yeah, I love her. She's the best, or he's the best, And the people that just are in a nice space, whether solo or with company, and that nice mental space, that emotional and mental space is in a nice balance. But we all, we can do it in our own very different ways. We can go through phases. We can do, sometimes focus a lot on the physical, other times focus some on the mental, other times, or we could do it all together. You could do it all at once, every day, a little bit for something. You can do so, be your own guru as much as you can. Begin practicing that surrender to yourself. Don't think of it as surrender to some system or to Buddha, you could think of it as whatever, but I want to make this as non-denominational and as basic, so as to, you could just think of it, your mind, your body, and showing yourself nurturing affection, body outside, inside, and making sure your head's on straight. You could take it very basic, and again, in this world of political correctness, my intent, and I am trying to open it up to not just my friends seeing this, but to open it up to reach other people that could benefit from this. So in humility, if anything I ever say, I'm really just so happy about sharing this. So I'm going to focus on that. Having this dialogue with yourself really will help you speak with other people. The better you are at speaking to yourself, at understanding yourself, the more you begin understanding other people. So this timeline is that. It's just the sort of, if we were writing a play, just the basics. And you can take it as deep as you like. You can do it throughout the years. You can start it and maybe lightly touch on it, in one season. I might have to do this over again with all these interruptions. No. We can, you can start it one season. You can build on it. You might begin remembering things that perhaps sometimes when we do our own inner therapy and we pause, just pausing, sometimes we'll bring back memory. Whereas if you're driving and with the phone and this and that, and somebody says, you remember when? You go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you barely kind of see it in your mind. Whereas if you pause, you go, oh yeah, that was a good day. I do remember. And you might get more out of life, out of that day, out of that memory. Now the basic things that we'll go over will include things, and this is just to recap because I want to do each one, but I'm going to let you know that it's recap things that go back into childhood and into the experience of any trauma, the experience of any physical experience, whether traumatic or not. To go back to that childhood and the state of mind and how you felt, go back into that childhood, and whether there were there learning disabilities, was there something that began peeking its head out, like did you go to speech class? Begin getting to know yourself, because sometimes what people will find is that there was the beginning of a trauma or the beginning of perhaps mental illness in the mother, or mental illness somewhere in the family, or maybe addiction or alcoholism. And the child, even before they've finished development of any kind, before they even get to speak, that speech already becomes affected, if I'm to say it in a super simplified way. And we sometimes forget how traumatic childhood can be, how things impact someone. Even having to wait for the parent a lot after school can lead someone to be very anxious if their date is late, if anyone's late. I'm just taking things apart like that, but focusing on childhood first. And also, where were you physically? Where were you? Was it a great place? And then going through to the teenage years. And then, so like I said, it's a recap. So your childhood, your teen years, and then every decade after. But really focusing on your physical experience, your emotional experience, where you were in your mental ability. I'll add to something, because I've mentioned, what to put in your timeline and things like that, but this is expanding on that, so to give you more ideas with the assignment of the timeline, to really explore where you were in your mental abilities. And by that I mean maybe in your 20s had a lot of relationship problems, you had a lot of maybe you're not a drinker, but you had some heavy drinking seasons. That was one of them. Mentally, you just weren't really there. It wasn't an area, a time that you thrived creatively. It wasn't a time that you really knew if you were coming or going. It wasn't an area a time that you remember having been stable. It wasn't a time when you could take vacations. And so you knew, yeah, that's right, I didn't take vacations. It's a really stressful time. All those things. Go through dialogues with yourself on that. It can be like a diary, but like I said, it's I like the timeline thought because it keeps it organized. If you were in relationships, here's the thing: if you were in relationships, the person per se, it shows the bra. The person per se isn't important, so the partner, but definitely who you thought they were is, and who you think they are now. That's important. You want to know, and how did you get to this? And we'll go through that more. But I'll do tomorrow's or the day after. I'll focus on those, the childhood and the teenage years, again, a little bit more. But for right now, I wanted to add on to give you an idea of the adult timeline, which would be, yes, definitely some relationships, if they definitely were significant game changers. People will tell me, yeah, after that person, I didn't trust anyone. Because then what we do is we can begin, okay, so this person was really a trigger. Someone that really brought to light the fact that trust is a big thing for you, and that you're telling me you have trust issues. Now, what happened in childhood? Where did that come from? Where did that lack of trust come from? How did you feel in childhood? Did you feel there were people that you could trust? And so we bring it together, see? But in your adult life, and I throw this out scattered because that's kind of how we begin thinking about things. Things start coming to us. We'll start in the present and we'll go, okay, my adult life. And, then we'll go to the childhood and we'll go, okay, well, I don't know how I felt when I was 2 or 3. And we'll listen, and we might be writing or something, and then, and things will start coming back. And I like to leave things you can do it as taking notes and do it your way all the way and as organized as possible, or just listening and writing every once in a while, or thinking, all the way through. But once in a while going, yep, that probably is why I'm like that. Or, it's about ultimately understanding ourselves, and that leads to better mental health. And accepting ourselves, that also leads to better mental health. And having fun, getting to know ourselves, that also leads to better mental health. Sometimes you look back at your timeline and you go, how did I survive all this? Wow. Whoa. And then you feel the love. You feel the love for yourself. You go back. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And don't get me wrong, you'll go through, I think, how could you know you unconditionally love yourself if you don't experience that dark side that has so many conditions? I think once you get so much conditional love, the pendulum begins swinging the other way, and you're like, no, I want unconditional love, at least from myself. I want unconditional love, at least from me. Another thing, when talking about your emotional, how you were emotionally during this decade, or at this job, or really owning up to it. Were you even emotionally present? And going into, let's say, your 20s, and what did you stand for? Did you stand for anything? What aroused you? What, and significant things. But then also, is that when anxiety really took a turn? Or is maybe in your 20s, maybe in your teen years, a little bit of anxiety. Maybe your 20s, nothing. Maybe your 30s, medication. Everybody will have different times in which some of us will always, if anything, mine progressed. Definitely progressed. And then if there is something and it gets suppressed or neglected, and it increases, or you also have more trauma that you bring upon yourself, because we cannot be in the victim role. We cannot remain in the victim role. We can be in the victim role. Some things, yes, you'll be the victim even on paper, in front of the law, but we cannot stay in that victim role. We must learn from that victim and, choose to get out of it. It's a choice, because that's in your power. That is in your power. It's not, I didn't say it was going to happen immediately, but just like the self-love, it does feel like all of a sudden one day you go, I love you. But no, it is slow too. You begin carrying yourself different, because you begin caring for yourself different, and it's the little things. It's definitely the little things. And for men who are not very good at the whole emotional rally, I can say, go slow. Were you happy? Maybe look up, especially my younger gentlemen, look up different words for emotions, because we're so restricted. And this is good, this is bad. You feel good, you feel fucked up. You feel awesome, you feel like this. It's high or low. Look up all the different spectrums. Sometimes perhaps maybe you're feeling reminiscence, old people words, or melancholy, and not necessarily down. Maybe You're just missing a moment, a day, a feeling. A feeling, that's possible too. Missing, some people miss being in love. You can get into your past self emotionally by things that you were into. How did you treat women? How did you treat your friends? Okay, were you angry then? Is that what you were? Were you very angry? From my gentleman, when you get stomped on that, think about, how did you treat other people? How did you act? What was your persona? What was that person like? And then you'll get into talking to yourself and bringing yourself to that inner dialogue. And because men don't, they're not taught. You're not taught to express with all these different words and all these different, and all that suppressing, now there's a generation of men that will come that will be able to express themselves a bit better, but the ball was dropped for a couple of generations that are still here on this planet, if not a few. And it was all about suppressing, and it was all about, this is women's problems and lady feelings. And you feel that way because you're girls, and so now that we're beyond that, you can just, who were you? What were you like? Because I'll tell you how you treated other people. And if you were, I was constantly cursing. I was just like, I was in. And it isn't until you look back and you go, I was angry. I was. You'll remember how you had road rage. And you'll go. And then you'll go, wow, I don't, once in a while. Road rage will come up for people, but sometimes they'll realize, wow, I'm not that driver even. So without making this too long, that's a little bit more on what the timeline is about. And I'll continue helping, giving ideas, because one more video on this, because I feel the timeline is just a great way to begin that dialogue with yourself and to continue it. So I didn't want to sound repetitive, but in the same respect, I wanted to just give more ideas of doing the timeline, doing the times, leaving space to write, and going into who you are physically, emotionally, and mentally. In your head, also your physically, meaning your abilities, your mental capacity, your, and then maybe during certain times, the ADHD wasn't as aggressive, and so who you were mentally and things like that. And any questions, always reach out, but I'll continue giving as many ideas to dig deeper into that, to really begin and continue that beautiful inner dialogue that leads you to knowing yourself more, and just gives you a tool. It's just a tool for just better mental health.